In this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how you can embed Notion widgets just like these in your Notion. We're going to be going through quotes, live trackers, weather, counter, countdown, and a number of different clock faces to supercharge your Notion. And we're starting right now. So the first thing I want you to do is open up an internet browser, and then we're going to click on the very first link, which is Indify Notion Widgets. And just to make it easy for you, I'll put a link to this down in the description below. Now, before I dive into the tutorial and explain to you how to get those widgets into your Notion setup, I would just like to point out that on the top left-hand corner, you can see that Indify is actually ranked number 3 as a product of the day on the website Product Hunt. And if you're not familiar with the Product Hunt website, then I would urge you to go have a look at that, because that website doesn't just have Indify and some of the reviews that it's been receiving, but if we go to the homepage, it actually has a list of various products that are being developed by startups all around the world. And basically the whole concept is that you submit your product and then the community actually upvotes your product depending on how good they think that particular product is. So this is a really cool way of actually discovering new products. So if you haven't done so already, then I would urge you to have a look at that. And out of all the products that are listed on Product Hunt, Indify at the moment is ranked number 3, which is really good. So that just gives you a small indication of how good people think this particular product is. Now, because this is a startup product, the features that are available at the moment are limited, but I'll show you those. So let's go ahead and create a login. So this is completely free. All they ask you to do is to be able to put in your email address and then sign up. So because I've already signed up, instead of putting my email in this bar over here, I'm going to go ahead and click on the login. And every time you need to log in, you have to put in your email address, and then they'll send you a login link, and all you have to do is just click on that. So you don't actually need to remember or have any passwords at the moment to be able to use this particular service. So once you're logged in, you should land on this particular page. So the first section is where you'll see any of the widgets that you already created. Then you can explore the widgets in 2 different ways. One is using a based on volumes, and the other bit is in alphabetical order. So at the moment, they have a total of 8 widgets that you can use, and 2 of them, integration with the Google Calendar and the integration with the image gallery, are actually paid widgets, whereas we have 6 options that we can choose that are completely free, and those are the ones that we're going to be going through in this video today. So because this is a startup, the library of widgets at the moment isn't that expansive, but you can sign up to their newsletter, you can follow them on Twitter or the Facebook community, and I believe that they do release new widgets every single month. Whether they'll be free or not, I'm not sure, but it is worth checking it out. So there's 2 ways we can create the widget. One is by just simply clicking on add widget here, or we can hover over the type of widget that we want to create and then simply click on create widget. So we're going to start off with the quotes one. So let's go ahead and click create widget. So the page is split into 2 sections. So on the left hand side, you have all the customization options, and on the right hand side, you have a preview of the widget and how it will look in your Notion. So let's start off by giving this widget a title. The next thing is we can select the Instagram account that's linked to this widget. Now, because these are quotes, Indify has to pull these quotes from somewhere. So at the moment, if you click on the drop down, you have a list of 5 different Instagram accounts that you can link to. So if you click on quotes of the day, you can see it's changed. Obviously, at the moment, this particular widget is limited to just these 5 Instagram accounts. So if you don't like the quotes from either of them, then this widget is probably not going to be good for you. The next option is whether we want to be able to hide the refresh icon or not. So as you can see within your preview window, on the bottom left-hand corner, you have the refresh. So if I clicked on that, it will change the quote to something else. Now we can either have this visible or we can hide this. So I like to keep this visible, so if I do want to change the quote, I can easily do that. So the next option is whether we want the display to be in dark mode or as it is at the moment. So if we hover over the bottom right hand corner, you can see the dark mode toggle appears, and if we click that, and if the option is available within the quote itself to be able to display the background as being dark, then it will. But in this case, for the quotes of the day, we don't actually get that option, but you'll see that working in some of the other widgets later on. The next option is whether we want to be able to display this bar on the bottom left. So we could toggle that, and then if we hover over the bottom left, you can see that that bar no longer appears. I quite like to have it appearing because sometimes if I do want to change this view, then I can easily do that within Notion, and I don't have to come back into Indify and be able to recreate this widget just to be able to have that dark mode. The final thing we can do before going into our Notion setup is we can easily drag the border to preview the widget in different sizes. We could simply drag the edges of this particular widget and see what it would look like at a different size. So as you can see, that looks much bigger. So depending on the type of space you've got on your Notion page, you can resize this however you want. You can see we can make it really, really small and bring that in. So it looks really nice. So the last thing we need to do is simply be able to copy this link, and then we can head over to our Notion. And then you simply need to right click and paste, and then we want to be able to select the create embed option. And if you give it a couple of seconds, hopefully that quote should appear. And once again, you have a number of different options in here. So we've got the refresh option, so if we want to change this quote, we can simply click it in here, and as you can see, it's changed the quote. So we could do this whenever we want. Really cool feature. If we hover over the right hand side, you can see the dark mode, so we can toggle that. You can see the background changes to black. We can untoggle that and it changes to the default. We can also resize this within Notion, which is really handy because sometimes you want to be able to resize things and you don't have to go back into the Indify website. That looks really good, and I think we'll stick to that. Now let's go back to the Indify website to see what else we can do. So we'll go back into the main page again. On the top section now, we can see that widget that we've created, and it also gives you the option to be able to just duplicate the widget if we wanted to. But in this case, we're going to go ahead and create a live progress bar. So we're going to click on the widget. So the use case for this particular widget are quite limited. So what it's essentially doing is it gives you the option to be able to work out based on your birthday. So let's give it a birthday around the year 2000. Let's say it was the 9th of January. And then it asks you how long do you expect to live. So let's say we want to be able to live until we're 100 years old. You can see on the right hand side, it started giving us a percentage of how much of our life we've actually lived. So for instance, if we go down to the life bar, it says it's 21%. So that's because out of 100 years, if we're 21 years old at the moment, that means we've actually lived 21% of our life. Bit spooky if you ask me, but if you're interested in finding out how much time you've got left on this earth, then feel free to add this widget in your Notion setup. Obviously, there's a couple of things that we can customize further, depending on whether you want to be able to work out the year, month, week, day, quarter, all of the life. You can just simply toggle these, and then you can have the widget only showing the bit that you actually want. In this case, we'll select all of them just because we want to be able to see all of them in Notion. You can also work out whether you want your percentages to be whole numbers or you want them to be decimal places. So if we click on that, you can see it works out more of an accurate percentage, but I think in this case we'll just keep it to the whole numbers. Last two options, much like the previous widget, you can have the dark mode. As you can see, it's changed our view in the background, or you can have the default view. We'll just go ahead and copy this and go back into our Notion and see what it looks like. Once again, Control V, and then we'll go ahead and create embed. That looks good. We can still go to the dark mode. We can click on that, we can change our view, and then we can also resize this if we wanted to. That looks good. Now let's go ahead and create the much anticipated weather widget, because this is one of my favorites. So we're back onto the website. Just before we move off this, we'll give it a title. Now let's go back onto the home page. You see we've got our two widgets here. We'll hover over the weather one and we'll create the widget. So a couple of things to know here. We'll just quickly give it a title. Then you have to change the location. So we're just going to go ahead and quickly change this to London. In terms of units, I prefer to use Celsius, so we'll go ahead and do that. And then you can change the number of days you want to be able to display. You could go ahead and select the next 7 days, which could be quite handy, or you can have it the next 2 days. We also have the option of hiding today's weather, so you could click on that and you can see today's view is gone. I'm not sure why you would want to do that, because I think it's really handy to be able to know what today's weather is like. And much like the other widgets, we can simply click on the dark mode as well and then change the background to be dark. In this case, we'll leave it as light, and then we're going to change this to 7 days as well, so we can see the maximum view. And the other cool thing we can do is just resize this depending on how we want to display it. So as you can see, it's now created this slightly different but beautiful view of the weather widget. And one other thing you can do is you can see that the rain, for instance, is actually animated. So you could go ahead and click on this toggle and then it would just make it a static picture. I personally prefer to have it animated because that just makes it look a lot more cooler. So we'll just keep it at that. So that's looking good. I like the size. So let's go ahead and copy that widget. We're back in our Notion now. Again, we're going to paste the link. We're going to embed it. I think I'm going to go ahead and resize this. That looks really good. And we'll center it so it's showing up in the middle. So there we go. That's the first 3 widgets done. Now we're going to go ahead and create the counter one. So we'll scroll down further, and that's part of the volume 2. We'll click on that. So counter is quite interesting. It is a little bit manual. So for instance, if I just show you, you just have to simply click on the plus sign and the count goes up, or you can reduce the count. Obviously, it depends on what you want to be able to use this for. So we'll go ahead and give it a title. So I'm going to go ahead and track how much water I've drank today. And then there's two customization options we can choose from. You can either have this as being a minus and a plus, or you can have it as arrows, either going down or going up. I think I'll keep it as plus and minus, and then you can change the counter on a daily basis and then reset it the next day. Once again, you got the option of the dark mode. We can go ahead and copy the link and then go back into our Notion and then simply paste it again. We'll just resize the columns to make the widget fit a little bit better. So hopefully by now, I think you should be feeling a lot more comfortable as to how you can add the widgets in. We'll just go ahead and do a couple of more just to give you an idea. So then we've got the countdown widget. I find this is quite useful as well. So we could say that event could be holidays. Then we can go ahead and select it. So let's say I'm going to go on holiday in 2 weeks time. We can also give it a time period. So let's say my flight's going to be leaving at 3 p.m. And then on the right hand side, you can see the countdown. So we've got weeks, days, hours, minutes, seconds to go. And then the other thing you can customize is the to go bit at the end. We could come down here and then click on the accent color. And then we could put in any color combination we want. But in this case, I'm going to go ahead and choose this. And then as you can see, it's changed the color of those two words at the end. And then we can go ahead and copy this link. So again, really cool feature. Okay, so the last widget that we're going to go through is the clocks. And this again is one of my favorites. They have a couple of different options for how the clock can look. So let's just go ahead and quickly have a look at those. We'll scroll down. You can find the clock widget, click the widget, and then I'll show you a couple of different options. So by default, it will show you the analog smooth one, which is an analog one. It's got the digital time, plus it's got the day of the week. So really handy stuff. So we can click on the drop down. We can select analog numbers. And as you can see, the difference here is that you've got the numbers showing up on the actual dials themselves. You got the analog planets, really cool if you're into your astronomy. It's got the second hand, and then it's got the hours and the minutes as well. You can also change the dark mode on this, just to give you a different view. And then you got two more, which is the digital roulette. Again, this is quite handy as well if you're into this type of view. And then you got the classic sort of just the clock time itself. We can also change the time zone. So, you can go ahead and select whichever country you're in. So you've got the right time showing. You can change it to a 24-hour clock feature. You can hide the seconds if you're not interested in that level of detail. And then you got the usual sort of dark modes if you want that option. So we're going to go ahead and select analog smooth, and then we're going to copy the link. We're going to go ahead into Notion. Let's paste this in and see what it looks like. That looks really nice. It could definitely feature in a Notion setup. Let's go ahead and select a different clock this time around. Let's choose a roulette. Let's copy the link. Let's paste it in there. And then let's do another one. Let's select the planets. Let's copy this and then paste it in Notion. Let's go ahead and select dark mode on a couple of these just to see what that looks like. And there you go. So hopefully that gives you a really good flavor of the type of things you can do by using the Indify widgets add-on within Notion. Obviously the number and the type of widgets is limited at the moment, but like I said, they're a new startup and they keep adding more and more widgets as time goes on. So I do encourage you to keep an eye on them. But if you think any of these current widgets could be really, really useful for your setup, then now you know exactly how you can create those widgets in your Notion setup. So there was two more that we didn't go through in this particular tutorial. If you're interested and you want to be able to integrate your Google Calendar into your Notion calendar, then this widget will allow you to be able to do that. And then also if you want to be able to bring in some images from your gallery, you can do that as well, but you will need to upgrade. In terms of the price plan, I think it's only a couple of dollars a month. So I hope you found that video helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, put it in the comments below. And if you're interested in learning more about Notion, then I recommend that you check out this video next.